April 26th, 2012 THEC meeting to order. I appreciate everyone being here. We're going to go ahead and ask Ms. Carter to call the roll.
Ms. Atkinson? Present. Mr. Bone? Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Hargett?
Here.
Mr. Hayes? Here. Mr. Isaac? Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Henry?
Here.
Mr. Willard?
Here.
Mr. Mann?
Here.
Dr. Dixon?
Here.
Mr. Walden?
Here.
Mayor Wharton? Mr. White?
Here.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Chairman, we have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. LaBella. Again, welcome to all those who are present and to the few who may be watching us on the live stream. Thank you to those as well. We'll now entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion second to adopt the agenda. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you. We'll go to our second item. We'll entertain a motion to approve to adopt the minutes from our January 26, 2012 commission meeting.
So move.
Second.
All right, we have motion second to adopt the minutes from our January 26th meeting. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you. I'm going to be very brief today on my chairman's report because I know that we have a few folks who need to get out of here, and I want to make sure that we have a chance to get through our action items in a timely manner. Again, I just want to thank all the commission members for being here and your commitment to the commission and all of your work. We'll go over later on in the agenda. Dr. Broder will cover a few of the legislative issues that have come up over the last several months. I have talked with several of the commissioners about what has happened during this session. I just want to say to you as commission members, we have had some assurances from the governor's office of the commitment to THEC going forward, and the fact that THEC is very integral to the success of higher ed in the state of Tennessee. That he continues to have that commitment and support. So just that being said, thank you for your commitment. And we're just going to go ahead and proceed on and ask Dr. Broder if you want to give us a tour.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, and guests. My remarks will be brief. I'd like to start out with a few acknowledgments. First, sitting with us at the table is Lorianne Mitchell, who is a faculty member of the College of Business at East Tennessee State University, and she is with us this year as a Maxine Smith Fellow. Under the wonderful program under the Tennessee Board of Regents, and Lorianne will be working with us over the course of the year, working in each staff area, then also identifying a project that is of interest to her, an interest to us, and then developing that project in the form of a paper or in the form of something that will be of value to all of us. So we look very much forward to YouTube. This program is interesting. It was looking forward. I think we will gain far more from Lori's talent and expertise and interest than she will from us. But it's a win-win. So, Lorianne, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you. Also, among our guests, I do want to recognize Dr. Bob Bell, president of Tennessee THEC, who, as I think we announced before, announced his retirement after 12 years as chief executive at Tennessee THEC, leaving at the end of the year. And last Saturday night was very fitting.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Rhoda. Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, as you might recall, last summer, the Office of P16 Initiatives submitted a proposal to the U.S. Department of Education for a Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs, commonly known as GEAR Up. You may recall also that we have implemented a GEAR Up program starting in 2005. That program ended last year. We did receive word from the U.S. Department of Education last week that Tennessee has been awarded a new Gear Up grant in the amount of $29.5 million for the next 7 years. Much like the previous grant, we will be working directly with students across the state. We will follow a cohort of students, 7,500 of them. Starting this year, they will be 7th graders. We'll follow them all the way through their graduation from high school, the class of 2018, and then we will follow them into their first year of higher education. In addition to the services we'll be providing to those students, we will also be providing a statewide suite of services, a college access media campaign, a retooling of our web portal, collegefortn.org, along with some training. And integrated into all of this, some priorities for the state around completion, implementation of the Common Core. These are all hallmarks of what we'll be doing over the next 7 years of this grant. So we're really excited. This is a great opportunity for THEC and for Tennessee.
Students represent the same counties.
Sure, great question. So we did not go into this proposal with particular counties in mind. We will be holding a request for proposals process that high schools that are eligible based on several criteria will apply in collaboratives. So the high school will be applying with their feeder middle schools, a higher ed institution, and at least 2 nonprofit organizations. And then we'll have a competitive peer review process, and that's where we'll make up our target high schools. So high schools as opposed to school districts.
Okay, thank you, Troy. Had a lot of smiles on the faces around here, but that was very good news. And thanks to Leanne, Mary, and of course, remember Katie Tone and Wendy Tabor, who were part of the original Gear Up staff, who were in large part participated in developing this proposal, and they're smiling. One in Texas and one down the road. Other members of the staff, new members of the staff. David?
I'll just stand here and ask Anamika to stand. I'd like to introduce Anamika Mazumdar. She is our newest employee in policy planning research, where she is our senior database developer for our student information system, which is the system that generates all the kinds of information you saw this morning during the work session. You'll probably know, not a surprise to you, that data analysis of that nature does not take place by somebody pushing a button and it happens. It's a very iterative and sometimes a messy process. Like law, sometimes you don't want to see it happening, but the end result is, we hope, useful to everyone. So Anamika, since she arrived, has been doing a lot of data sleuthing and trying to figure out why things don't match up to last year, and where do we get this information from. And she's done a fantastic job. She's hit the ground running, so we're really lucky to have her.
Well, thank you. Catherine Meyer is not with us, I don't think. She's on assignment at TSU as part of a conference. I'd like to mention in a minute. But Catherine started with us is with us as a graduate assistant. She's in the Master's of Public Policy program at Vanderbilt. She's working in the academic area. Going back a minute to the Gear Up grant, and Troy mentioned that this is going to involve partnerships with the business community, but also the nonprofit sector, and that's a theme that we keep hitting on. It seems to resonate well in Tennessee. In that regard, I just want to mention to the Commission that the Tennessee Achieves program, which started out as Knox Achieves as a last dollar scholarship program, and now Governor Haslam has brought it to the statewide level. That program is really taking off. We, THEC staff, are very supportive of that program and really see that as a way to increase public engagement in higher education, because it's matching dollars that the private sector makes available, but it has to be matched at the local level. These are for, as I indicated, it's the AIRS Foundation model, last dollar scholarship, mentoring students, helping the students apply for financial aid. Well, actually, how to go to college, how to apply for financial aid, and then provide the last piece to make sure that it's affordable. So we are trying to build that into our thinking in many ways, and then that leads into the conversation about THEC. THEC is undergoing a top-to-bottom review. I don't mean that, if that's a technical term, I don't mean that. but the board, THEC board, of which some of you are members, the question is, we have the Complete College Tennessee Act, we have K-12 reform, now we have financial aid programs, the big part being the lottery scholarship that you heard about this morning. But what are the other financial aid resources? What is it THEC might want to be doing differently with this new landscape before us? And Tennessee Achieves fits into that. We will keep you abreast of that, but it's this is, I think, the next step of the whole completion initiative, or a next step. Speaking of that, very briefly, Jessica gave a presentation this morning on the prior learning assessment and working with adult students, activities we're doing that fit within the Complete College Tennessee Act and increasing the educational attainment. Just a few other activities that I would note. We've tried to keep you abreast of this through our weekly updates, but there was another statewide completion academy held. There were 9 institutions. I believe they were the same number in the first academy last fall. It's the same idea, bringing together leadership of all the campuses, comparing notes, hearing context experts talk about what are the things that can be done at the institutional level that do, in fact, help more students succeed. In addition to the PLA initiative, the whole adult learner area, there's a conference at MTSU since the commission last met, the meetings in February, which attracted a great deal of conversation, and a number of THEC staff were a part of that. The initiative that started with the Chief Academic Officer, Tristan Denley, at Austin P, continues to develop and mature. You may recall we were with the help from Lake College America to not take it to scale yet, but to take that program to 2 other institutions, 3 other institutions, Ball State, Nashville State, and the University of Memphis. And this is the computer-assisted Netflix approach to student advisement to help students make choices that are more directed toward degree objectives. And that is getting a lot of much-deserved attention. Other than that, I just mentioned the big picture about getting higher education more engaged in the needs of the state. Governor Haslam is the current chair of the Southern Growth Policy Board. They are convening here in Nashville, I believe. Chattanooga. And THEC staff has been asked to assist in the development of that agenda. And again, we would do how higher education can work with the state and with local business. So that, Mr. Chairman, I think concludes my, well, let me go back. There was a meeting last week in Memphis that A.C. Wharton, Mayor Wharton, THEC member, convened, sponsored by the Lumina Foundation. And it was a meeting of all the mayors who represent cities that have received a Lumina Award for Latino student success. That was the focus of the meeting. The discussion actually went broader than that, beyond Latino students, into the area of what is it that mayors can do better than anyone else in terms of increasing educational attainment in their communities. And I got to say, the president of the Lumina Foundation, Jimmy Marasotis, was there, and very much working arm in arm with Mayor Wharton. It was an impressive day. I think a lot of good things came out of there, of which obviously more students will be served, but I just think it shows that Memphis is rising higher and higher on the Lumina Foundation radar screen, as well as doing some very good things. That concludes my remarks.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Rhoda. I do want to mention that we have a couple of guests here with us today who are dear friends, Dr. Linda Duran and Jim Bailey. Thank you. I know that you retired, but thank you for coming on by to see us. And continue to wish you well. I understand you've been doing a lot of traveling.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Always glad to have both of you. Thank you so much. Okay, we're now ready for our system reports. We're going to ask Dr. DPA. You'll give us the University of Tennessee.
I was at a governing board meeting this past week, which was for presidents, chancellors, and board members, and it was in Washington, D.C. And the reason I mention it is that Tennessee was featured prominently 2 or 3 times in a session panel that included Jamie Marisotis and Stan Jones regarding our completion efforts and how far out there we are ahead in higher education. So it felt good to be in the audience and hear them say good things about Tennessee. And, you know, it's not always that happens, but it felt really good, and I think it's something this commission has championed as well as the 2 systems. And it's good that we got that notoriety. I'd like to talk to you about 2 or 3 things specifically. One is the research activities that we got going on and what's happening there. You know, we dedicated a solar farm last week. Commissioner Haynes was there, and it's near Brownsville, Haywood County. And it's both a research and outreach component of the University of Tennessee that basically is going to try to educate people about how to best utilize solar technology, and better yet, provide a research lab for us to figure out how to make it cheaper, more efficient, and more effective. It's an impressive place if you drive by it on the way to Memphis. You can see it on the north side of the road. It has enough capability to power 5 million homes sitting there in that field, and it's a distinct part of our research program and outreach. Our research expenditures, it's the time of year where I start looking at data, data-driven, and we're up this year in expenditures about 18% across the system, from $385 million to $454 million in expenditures around research programs. Our Cherokee Farm is finally starting to, on the bend of the river, which will be a research campus for us, which will be an interface between the private sector business and the University of Tennessee and the Oak Ridge National Lab to look at how do we work with companies to take our technology to the next level and train our students in an environment that not only adequately provides them a research opportunity, but actually gives them a chance to see how research is done in a company as well as in a lab at a university. So we'll be breaking ground on the first building there at GIMS, the Joint Institute for Advanced Material Science, we hope soon, within a month or so, maybe 2 months. We still have 1 hoop to jump through with the building commission. We will know that we'll get the right help there. Don't look very difficult. Academically, our graduation rates are up across the system about 3%. And more importantly, our retention rates are up even more than that. We'll graduate over 7,000 students this year, and I think I have 4 or 5 commencements to go to in the next 2 or 3 weeks, which is always a great celebration. The other thing about the academic programs, I think you should realize that UT Knoxville and UT Martin are 2 public institutions, obviously. They're on the list of Kiplinger's top 100 best values in higher education. So we're very proud of that, that we continue to be affordable and better yet, a value based on what we deliver. Compensation continues to be a problem for us, like most universities. We've commissioned a company, and they completed a study last year, a citizen company, to look at our compensation gaps. To give you some round numbers, our faculty, based on their work across the entire system, matched 4 similar institutions. So we matched Martin faculty to regional campuses similar to them, and so on and so forth, are at about 87% of the median salary for their comparison to peers. And the staff are about 78% of the median number, which is the middle of the range. We were laying plans with our chancellors to figure out how to close those gaps. And it'll take several years to do but it's good information to have. I don't think we were surprised, and we'll work on it. On the development front, we have just recently hired a fellow by the name of Randy Farmer, comes out of Southwestern Texas Medical Center, to be our vice chancellor for development in Memphis. And we think there's a lot of upside potential for Memphis and the Health Science Center now that we have identified a leader, and that search has taken longer than I would have liked, probably been a couple of years in the making. Our strategic planning effort is coming to the conclusion from the standpoint of putting the documents together. There will be 5 themes in that document. We've identified one as being sort of what are the centralized duties of the systems and the decentralized duties of the campuses to be able to make sure everybody understands who's doing what, who's responsible for what. We have a theme around enhanced educational excellence. We have one around expanded research capacity, and we have one around growing infrastructure and investments in the university, and then lastly, outreach and engagement. So that document has come quickly together. It'll be on our website within a week or 10 days in a draft form for feedback. We've engaged literally thousands of people in the process. It shouldn't surprise our campuses or institutes from the standpoint of what's in the plan, and all the campuses and institutes will have a role in moving that plan forward. And we're looking forward to the board approval of that in June. We made an announcement this week of a fourth campus for the Health Science Center from the standpoint of residency training. We have those campuses in Memphis, obviously, where the Health Science Center is, and then we have one at Erlanger and in Chattanooga, and we have one at Knoxville at UT Medical Center. And we've been able to partner up to do additional residency training here with the help of Chancellor Schwab with Ascension Health. And we'll be producing another 100 to 150 residents out of that program. And, if you want healthcare expertise from the standpoint of post-MD training, MD training, particularly in subspecialty training, like God forbid you need a neurologist, God forbid you need an ophthalmologist, if you've got a bad problem. Where you do your residency, about 70% of the people where they do their residency, that's the state they end up practicing. So the University of Tennessee Health Science Center with this additional campus will increase the capacity to provide those healthcare professionals that we need to stay in Tennessee, and we're real happy about that. And the good news is that GME money that comes from the federal government will support that. It will not be an additional cost to the University of Tennessee in order to do that. And the hospital has teamed up on the faculty side with us from the standpoint of their clinicians to help train them. Lastly, no news to anybody around this table. Coach Summit is now coach emeritus for the Lady Vols at the University of Tennessee. We were very pleased to be able to do that and honor her. And it's not every day that you have your basketball coach going to the White House to be acknowledged with a national medal of merit. So we were very pleased about that. It was a gracious way to negotiate because she is such a wonderful person and human being. So with that, I conclude my report. Unfortunately, I have to be at meetings in Birmingham this evening. The two Rons, Ron Lowen and Ron Maples, are back here. Chairman White, should you have questions about the University of Tennessee?
Anyone have any questions? I have just one. You mentioned on the solar farms, 500 homes that you provide. Are you saying you're actually generating that now?
Yeah, we are.
So you are selling it to TVA? You partnering with TVA?
We partner with TVA, and we had to put in the transmission lines to be able to push the electricity back to them, and they're partnering in that effort. The Brownsville community was a partner from the standpoint of local utility company. I've forgotten the name of it.
I think it's Cherokee.
Cherokee. They were a partner in helping us put together the wires to hook it all up back to TVA.
So the efficiency of the panels, I guess that's one area where you got China really trying to kill us with the...
I think that it's actually, this is not my field, but what I understand from engineers is that it's about material science around the photovoltaic process and the panels where you got to drive the cost down. So they'll be looking at new technology that's generated in our labs in engineering and material science to figure out, put this one in where one was and see if it's as good as that one, that kind of thing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Be safe.
Yep.
All right, we're now ready for Chancellor Morgan, Tennessee Board of Regents report.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be brief as well. Rich mentioned the Completion Academy that took place a few weeks ago, which was the second Completion Academy for us. There were 9 institutions there. 8 of those were Board of Regents institutions. And as Rich mentioned, it was made possible in part through a grant from Complete College America organization to Tennessee, that Jessica's piece of that comes from that, and other really valuable things. AT&T also was a participant in that. The Business Roundtable partnered on the Completion Academy. And the importance of those opportunities is that it does allow teams of individuals from institutions to come together and really spend some high-quality time thinking about completion, thinking about strategies, hearing from content experts about specific things that have worked in other places, and allows them to spend most of their time together. Frankly, most of the time at Completion Academy is a team spending team time, facilitated by someone who keeps them on task, on track, moving toward the goal of developing a completion plan, or beginning to develop a completion plan, or setting out the pathway through which they will complete the completion plan on their campus. The first one was an extraordinarily success. This one was too. And what comes from that are specific strategies at our institutions on how can we do better in terms of student success, promoting, persistence, retention, completion, the things that Tennessee Higher Education Commission has identified as being essential to the public agenda in Tennessee that we have to be successful in doing. So that was very valuable, and we thank y'all for doing that and for helping bring that about. At the system level, we'll be holding institutions accountable for their progress on their completion plans in a very real and measurable way. And we think collectively, combined with our focus on that, with the outcome-based formula, with the expectations that have been set, what you are seeing today, what you will see in coming years. Earlier we had the opportunity to look at numbers about completions and various metrics. I believe that you're going to see those numbers continue year after year after year to improve, and that we can meet the goals of 2025 that have been set for us. One of the things that came out of the Completion Academy, one of the elements of the plans that institutions, some of our institutions identified, was to have their own academy on their campus, to kind of use that same approach of bringing together teams of folks from campuses, from the various colleges, the various operating units, in that same kind of facilitated environment, and develop specific strategies or recommend specific strategies for the campus as to how they could make the improvements that they are seeking to make. I had the pleasure just a few days ago, I guess was it last weekend, Tim? Being on Austin Peay's campus on a Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock in a room full of staff and faculty and students who had been working the night before and all day on Saturday with their Completion Academy, hearing from experts in various strategies, working together to plan what they could do to really move their campus forward. You know, and these are people who I guess voluntarily, maybe a little bit of overstatement, but were willing at least to come and spend their weekend doing that work. And I'll tell you, it was incredible for me. You walked in the room, people started coming in from the various teams, the energy level was high, the excitement was high, the reporting out, each of the teams reported out kind of what their conclusions were, and you could just feel it. And these folks are committed to what they're doing, had great ideas, and you just believe that if we can continue that kind of momentum, we are in fact going to do some transformational things in Tennessee in our systems of higher education. So great credit to Austin Peay for what they are doing. And similar things are happening on every one of our institutions. A couple other things I'll mention real briefly. You may have seen this in the press, but a couple of weeks ago, MTSU had their annual, what is now going to be an annual philanthropic kind of luncheon with folks coming together. On this occasion, it really signals the beginning of the end of their centennial celebration. But they did have a very big announcement. Woody Miller, who is a business person from here in Nashville, committed $10 million, made a $10 million gift to MTSU, which was a very large gift for MTSU, and they were quite excited about it. And they had established a goal of, I'll get these numbers wrong, but I think they previously established a fundraising goal of $60-some million for this campaign. That now has been elevated to $80 million because of that big boost. But they are committed, and if Dr. McPhee is not here, but if he were here, I think he would still be beaming from the opportunity he had to announce that gift at MTSU. One other thing I'll mention, two other things I'll mention real briefly. One is, Paul, and this was, 3 weeks ago, our second research symposium took place. What that is an opportunity for faculty from our institutions and perhaps other institutions as well to come together and talk about the research they're doing, importantly learn about how to go about it, understand better how they as faculty members can engage in meaningful research opportunities on their campus. And generally, it's research for the sake of research, for the sake of expanding understanding and knowledge in the discipline within which they operate. And someone might question that as to, well, how does that promote completion? Well, it has a very direct effect because it helps those faculty members be more effective faculty members. And I think, as I have said in this group and other groups before, in the end, everything we do at the system, everything we do around our institutions is to create an environment within which an effective faculty member can be connected with a motivated student. And it's only by doing that that we'll achieve our goals of completion and raising educational attainment in Tennessee. And engaging faculty in that way makes them better teachers. It positions them to be more effective instructors, to be able to bring students into that research environment, even on an undergraduate level. That helps them become better students, more likely to succeed, more engaged, more successful. Final thing I'll mention is, actually two more things. Final thing I'll mention is, right now, we have our 4th biennial diversity conference taking place within our system. And one of the things that we heard a great presentation early this morning that perhaps someday we can get Jose Cruz from the Education Trust here to talk with this commission. I think you would find it extraordinarily helpful to frame the issues around higher education, diversity, and student success. But one of the things that, in preparation for that we had looked at in the office last week is we can achieve approximately 1/3 of our goal as a system in meeting THEC's 2025 goal if we can simply close the existing gap, achievement gap and access gap that we have in our system for underrepresented minorities and low-income students. So it's important, and that is an activity taking place today that we will continue to do that we think is very meaningful for our future success. And then the last thing I will mention is Rich acknowledged Bob Bell being here. Bob Bell is a fine university president, has contributed a great deal to the state of Tennessee, to the Tennessee Board of Regents, and obviously to Tennessee Tech. And aside from being a great educator and a great administrator, he's a great man, and he very much will be missed in the role that he has been in. But I'm happy to say that I believe that he will continue to be in an emeritus role. I think the board will agree with that. So he's not fully clear of us yet. We will continue to use him to continue to help Tennessee Tech and our system. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Tim. All right, we're now ready for our first action item. It's under 1A. This is post-secondary education authorization. First is the institutional reauthorizations from July 1, 2012 through June 30, 2013. Call on Dr. Stephanie Bennett for the recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Dr. Rhoda, members of the commission. I have 3 action items for your consideration today. The Committee on Post-Secondary Educational Institutions has recommended that the institutions listed in Section 1A1 be granted reauthorization as follows. We have 295 locations for regular authorization, 92 for temporary authorizations, and 19 for conditional authorization. This totals 189 authorized institutions with 406 locations. Just a breakdown really quickly. Of the 189 institutions, I'm gonna get it wrong. This one. Of the 180, can everybody see that? Of the 189 authorized institutions, 130 are for-profit, 59 are not-for-profit, 39 are regionally accredited, 45 are nationally accredited, and 105 are not accredited at all. And for the full-time equivalent enrollment for the fiscal year 10-11, there were 91,000 Tennessee students. And that's the first action item.
All right, thank you so much. We'll entertain the motion.
Chairman, can I ask a question?
You sure can.
Do you mind going back to your preamble again when you talked about how many of these?
Locations, yes, there are 406 locations. So basically what that means, we have some institutions, for instance, the University of Phoenix has 6 locations, but we only count them once. So we have 109 institutions with 406 locations.
Okay, so how does that break down among those 406, is that what you said?
I'm sorry.
How does that, I thought, I'm looking back here through my, I might be comparing apples to oranges here. On page 8, it talks about authorized location of temporary authorization. How many is that supposed to be?
92.
Our books is 91.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know, that must have been a mistake, because there were 92. This is what we presented to the committee.
Okay, can we go back to the other numbers then? Is it 295 authorized locations or regular?
Regular, yes, sir.
Okay, and the other one, it sounded like you said 19 authorized locations with conditional authorization.
Yes, sir.
Can you get a corrected list out to us for?
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, I'll have to look at that, because I didn't know that said 91. Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. I move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you.
All right. The second action item, the committee has also recommended that the institutions listed in Section 1A2 and the new programs listed in Section 1A3 be granted temporary authorization and approval.
All right. We have a motion to adopt the recommendation as presented.
Those institutions were not included in the reauthorization because they're new.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All right. Motion second to approve the recommendation as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. All right.
For my last agenda item, please reference Section 1A4, and these are recommendations from Mr. Bill Fair, Mr. John Keys, and Dr. Kitty Myatt to be reappointed to the committee for a 3-year term.
All right. Was a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Second.
All right. A motion second to approve the recommendation as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, just a reminder, this is the committee that works with the staff in reviewing new institutions, new programs before we bring them to you. So it's a good committee and they do a lot of work.
Thank you so much for the work. Okay, our next action item is a proposed rule revision. We'll call on Ms. Julie Whitman for this report.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Chairman, Dr. Rhoda, Commissioners. DPSA began a new rulemaking proceeding earlier this year in accordance with your vote in January. On March 5th, we distributed proposed revisions to all interested parties, and on or near March 19th, we received comments from 19 entities. Some of these were institutions, some were organizations. In some cases, institutions submitted comments from a corporate office as well as from multiple instructional sites. So, for example, we might have had one entity, it would submit comments from their home office, and then each one of their authorized locations would also submit the same or very similar comments. At the April 5th, 2012 committee meeting, the committee voted to recommend the proposed rule revisions for your consideration. In preparation for this meeting, we sent each of you a packet of information. It was quite large. The packet contained the proposed rule revisions in two formats, one being red line and one being a revised version with all of the changes accepted. You received copies of all of the comments we received, as well as a table that summarized those comments and provided our responses for each one of the comments. Now, in addition to the April 2012 committee recommendations, the proposed rule revisions you received contain an additional revision to Rule 1540-01-02-.26. Specifically, the revision adds a second paragraph to the rule. Previously, the committee voted to recommend this exact language to the Commission at the committee's June 1997 meeting. Thereafter, the Commission voted to adopt the language at the July 1997 meeting. The language therefore appeared in the 1998 and 2000 versions of the rules. In November 2011, as a result of the Secretary of State's reading of the Chancery Court decision and related Attorney General Opinion 11-78, the Secretary of State published the rules without the language. Many of the revisions before you today were considered by the Commission in 2008. However, as a result of the Chancery Court decision in October 2011, those revisions were declared void and must be reconsidered. Thus, DPSA began this process by making changes to the 2000 rules so that the rules contain the revisions adopted in 2008. Given the Commission's familiarity with the 2008 rules, I will focus today on the recommended revisions that were not part of the 2008 rulemaking. I will highlight a few of the revisions presented for your consideration and will reference from time to time the page number in the red line version of the rules you received. First, Rule 1540-01-02-.5 contains the requirements that must be met in certain instances before THEC may determine that an entity is exempt. These revisions begin on page 9 of your red line version. We are proposing multiple revisions to this rule. The revisions address situations where there is no charge directly to the student, but the institution does receive funds on behalf of the student through a program as described in the revision, such as Worker Investment Act funds. It has become apparent to THEC that the current rule restricts the allocation of federal funds to certain educational providers and that this was not the intent of the rule. Thus, the revision is made to avoid any unintended consequence of the current wording of the rule. The revisions place all exemptions under Rule .05 and clarify the grounds under which short-term programs, seminars, and workshops may be exempt. This revision should make the rules more user-friendly and improve understanding of each rule. The revised rule contains an exemption for training designed to prepare students for credit by examination exams. This exemption is listed separately because the nature of the training requires that explicit provisions be included to address promotion and marketing. The revisions clarify that either programs or institutions may be granted exemptions and removes language that limits the term of exemptions. This allows THEC to award exemptions for an unlimited amount of time while preserving the ability to revoke or amend an exemption. These revisions benefit institutions by simplifying the exemption process and better describing the procedure for receiving an exemption. Next, we have Rule 1540-01-02-.06, paragraph 14, starting on page 13 of your red line version. This rule regulates the names of non-exempt institutions. In the past, the rule has required that nationally accredited or unaccredited institutions that use the term college in the name include a qualifier, for example, technical college. The revised rule will allow institutions to use the word college in the institution name without a qualifier, as long as the institution is accredited by a U.S. Department of Education recognized accreditor, meets the definition of college, and offers or is seeking to offer at least one degree. The revision benefits institutions by ensuring that the name of an institution appropriately describes the institution and by permitting nationally accredited institutions to use the word college in their name without a qualifier. Commoners fully supported this revision. Excuse me. On page 22 of your red line version is Rule 1540-01-02-.083. This rule currently restricts the use of traditional degree names to regionally accredited institutions unless an institution receives an exception. The revision to the rule describes in detail what an institution must provide in order to receive an exception from the executive director. Institutions commented that it was inappropriate to distinguish between national and regional accreditation in the rule. It is important to note that the proposed amendment 2.083B does not change the accreditation distinction currently in effect, a distinction that the Commission has formally recognized since at least 1991. The degree name distinctions were recognized by the Commission in the past as a result of its consumer protection responsibilities outlined in the Post-Secondary Education Authorization Act of 1974. Traditional degree designations have developed over the years under the purview of the regional accrediting agencies and the institutions accredited by those agencies to meet established rigorous standards. This concept is reinforced by the knowledge that, although thoughts on national and regional accreditation vary, it is generally accepted that national accreditation developed as a means to accredit institutions that offer programs with a vocational or technical focus rather than institutions offering programs with a comprehensive focus. This explains, for example, the use of applied or occupational in degree names, as these qualifiers signal the vocational or technical focus of the degree. While one might suggest that the reach of national accreditors is changing, it remains that in Tennessee today, many of the degree programs offered by nationally accredited institutions are vocational or technical in nature. The need for the accreditation distinction and the proposed requirements for receiving an exception is further supported by the expectations of those students receiving traditional degrees. Using associate degrees as an example, as this is the degree most commonly offered by nationally accredited institutions in Tennessee, Associate of Arts and Associate of Science degrees are designed to prepare students to transfer to baccalaureate programs. Given this, it is without question that THEC should strive to ensure that students enrolling in AA and AS degree programs will be able to further their education by pursuing a baccalaureate degree. Of the authorized institutions in Tennessee, those that are nationally accredited offer only 12.5% of approved baccalaureate degrees, as compared to regionally accredited institutions that offer 85.9% of such degrees. Thus, it is only reasonable to apply a standard that provides students with the greatest access to opportunities. This is accomplished by requiring articulation agreements with regionally accredited institutions before allowing the use of traditional degree names. Similarly, students receiving traditional bachelor degrees may anticipate receipt of graduate degrees. In Tennessee, in nearly every instance, this means attending a regionally accredited institution. For example, authorized regionally accredited institutions offer 98.5% of the master's programs approved in Tennessee. All this being said, DPSA realizes that there may be instances when an exception to a general rule is appropriate, thus the need for the exception process. DPSA opines that if an institution meets the criteria set forth in the proposed revision, that the institution will have demonstrated that its programs are equivalent to those traditional programs that have developed through the years. Additionally, Tennessee students will have a greater opportunity to seamlessly transition to a baccalaureate or graduate degree program. Rule 1540-01-02-.156, starting on page 36 of your red line version, lists the documents required to be maintained in the student file. This requirement includes the documentation that serves as proof that the student meets the admission requirements of the institution. We are recommending that you revise the rule to expand the documentation that an institution may maintain. For example, an institution may rely now on an enlisted record brief, which is a military document, to prove receipt of a high school diploma. These revisions result from suggestions from the institutions. Finally, on page 52 of your red line version is a proposal to add a new rule, Rule 1540-01-02-.26, and I'll specifically be talking about the first paragraph. This rule describes when the Commission may return a percentage of regulatory fees to the institutions. The addition of this paragraph is a result of discussions during the 2009 rulemaking proceeding when fees were raised. DPSA crafted this rule to ensure that it collects no more than is necessary to cover the cost of its annual budget and maintain a reasonable surplus. This new rule will benefit institutions by ensuring that excess collections will be returned to the institutions. If you vote today to adopt the rule revisions, the next step is to send the revisions to the Attorney General, where the legality and constitutionality of the rules will be reviewed. The Uniform Administrative Procedures Act provides that the rules can be sent then to the Secretary of State's office following the approval by the Attorney General's office. The proposed rulemaking process does not require a rulemaking hearing on the front end. However, persons or entities may file a petition for a public hearing after the rule revisions have been published by the Secretary of State. In the event that this happens, this matter will be brought back before the Commission. Having heard this summary, DPSA now asks that you vote to adopt the rule revisions.
Mr. Chairman, that's the recommendation of the staff.
All right. We'll entertain a motion to adopt the recommendations from the staff.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Bone?
Yes.
Mr. Hargett?
No.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Lillard? Mr. Mann?
Yes.
Mr. Walden?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
The motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Our last action item is approval of the Montlow State Community College Master Plan. Dr. Muskie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Rhoda, members of the Commission. We heard from Carl Minker this morning from the Board of Regents staff the details of the Montlow State Master Plan. It is a detailed master plan with some interesting data analysis that prior plans I don't think have ever included before, so compliments to the consultants and to TBR staff for that. It contains details about how they would proceed without anticipating growth at the main campus. Or some infrastructure needs at the main campus at Montlow, as well as some explosive growth at the Smyrna campus, for which the plan has plans to address not only the building that's about to be constructed, but also future plans if growth does continue to proceed at the pace it is now. The next stop is the State Building Commission. The staff recommends it for approval and transmission to the SBC.
Thank you. We'll entertain a motion to approve the master plan.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the Montlow State Community College Master Plan. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like so. All right. Thank you so much for all the action items and for everyone being able to hang around long enough to get that done. We'll now start with our information items. First is a status of program approval process for community college systems. Ms. Betty Davis.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chairman White,
Good afternoon.
Dr. Rhoda, and members of the Commission. At the July 2011 meeting, the Commission approved 2 academic program policy revisions to delegate authority for the final approval of all community colleges, certificates, and associate degree programs to the Tennessee Board of Regents. And the rationale for this policy revision was to support the development of the community college system as directed by the CCTA. Since this policy revision last year and it became effective August 2011, TBR has only approved one new associate degree program, and that was at Columbia State Community College at their March 2012 TBR board meeting. This program at Columbia State is an advanced integrated industrial technology, and it will train students in high-tech manufacturing with courses in hydraulics and robotics. And the policy revision will also allow this newly approved program to also be approved at other community colleges if they meet the same quality and resource standards. With this revision, however, the Commission did not delegate authority to TBR for conducting post-approval review and evaluation of community college programs. This review will continue to remain at the Commission, and we will continue to monitor and review these programs through our post-approval monitoring process, through our annual enrollment through our program productivity, as well as through the quality assurance program of the performance funding. Programs that will come to the Commission will be all of the baccalaureate and the graduate programs. But again, all of the community college programs approval has been delegated to the Tennessee Board of Regents for final approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
I'd just like to thank you, Betty, for putting together this item. When we presented this for your consideration last year, the idea of delegating final authority, it was based on, it just made sense to do it. I speak for myself, I think others, I think it's important that the Commission stay in touch with the community colleges. So, as Betty said, we will have that relationship for sure on the post-approval process, but we'd also like to keep you apprised of how this is working, the types of programs, any other considerations.
Thank you so much for that update. Okay, our next item is an amendment to the fiscal year 2012-2013 disclosed capital projects list. Dr. Booth.
Again, Mr. Chairman, this morning we discussed item 2B in your notebooks, the amendment to the 12-13 disclosed list. Again, these are projects funded from non-direct state sources, for instance, auxiliaries, storms, parking lots, and also two just campus infrastructure projects that are funded from gifts or institutional funds. This is normally part of the fall's budget process. The amendment procedure here is to simply allow for projects that additionally have come forward since that time lag to get them into the administration's amendment into the budget process and acknowledgement in the 12-13 budget. These projects still go through the State Building Commission approval, of course. By interim action, Dr. Rhoda has already approved these in early March. We had a request from FNA to proceed more quickly with the amendment this year to get it into the administration amendment with the goal of getting the legislature home earlier than normal, and of course we abided by that request. It is presented here as information. Again, it's item 2B. I'll be happy to answer questions if there are any.
Other questions? No, thank you so much. Okay, our next item is the first to the top update, Ms. Katrina Miller.
Thank you. As you know, we're in our second year of implementation for First to the Top, and we're about to wrap up, and we'll have our on-site review coming in June of this year. We'll be able to give you an update on that at the July Commission meeting. As you're aware, we have two major thrusts for higher education in First to the Top. One is improving the way we train teachers, and then the second is supporting teachers who are currently in the field through the expertise of our higher education faculty around the state. Today I want to talk to you a little bit more about the second and one of the awards that we recently gave for STEM professional development. And STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And this is the STEM Professional Development Awards are funded at $6 million through Race to the Top, and they're awards made directly to higher education institutions to support K-12 STEM teachers. This is focused professional development that's sustained over an 18-month period with a really rigorous evaluation system, so we know how well the professional development is working at changing teacher behavior but also improving student achievement, which is always our main goal. We divided the grant program into 2 rounds of funding. The first round began in February 2011, and we made awards there in their first year of implementation, and they'll wrap up in December of this year. So this summer, we'll be traveling out to quite a few institutions to do site visits and see how well they're working with teachers and the changes in the classroom. The second RFP was released in February of this year, and we awarded over $3 million in funding. And I have some maps that I want to show you to show kind of the spread of the professional development and the impact that it's having statewide. So in round 1, the professional development awards, which is $1.8 million overall, served 307 teachers, and those teachers are currently in the professional development in 33 counties. 6 higher education institutions were involved with 11 programs, and you all approved that last year. In our second round of funding, you can see we have a much larger spread. We're going to be serving 492 teachers over the next year and a half in 48 counties, 7 higher education institutions, and 19 programs. And the list of those programs are in your binder in section 2C, I believe. So you'll see all of the institutions that are awarded, who the project directors are, the names of the programs, and the level of funding. It was capped at $200,000 with a minimum of 25 teachers served. And again, this is a bit different than you've seen in the past in that it's a more sustained project over a longer period of time. It's really focused on changing classroom behavior, so they go into the schools while they're in session. It's not just a 2-week summer program, which is what professional development in the past has typically been. So overall in this program, you'll see that we're going to serve about 800 teachers, and these are projections, so it's likely that we could serve more. In 57 counties and 8 higher education institutions are involved. And this was open to both public and private institutions, so you'll see that we have both funded. And we intend to see a really great impact on this. The other thing about this program is there had to be a sustainability plan involved. And so once we know the evaluation results and we know which programs have the biggest impact, we'll be able to spread those throughout the state through our STEM hubs and platform schools so that more teachers can be impacted over a longer term. I would welcome any questions at this point.
Any questions? Thank you for the
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now call on David Wright to give us an overview of the THEC statutory.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Rhoda, members of the Commission. I won't subject you to a reprisal of the presentations that you heard this morning, but perhaps for those that weren't here, I'll just give a brief overview of what was covered and point you to the direction where you can find these resources on our website. This morning you heard from Thomas Sanford and Sunghoon Shin, a white paper that they are developing on lottery scholarship programs in other states, focusing on 8 states, including Tennessee. And I think the takeaway that I got from that one is that Tennessee's program is really developed in such a way that we're pretty much right in the middle in terms of our where we fall in terms of the renewal requirements, the initial eligibility requirements, and we've probably done at least as well as any other state in trying to align our largest Merit Aid program with the goals of our college access and success agenda. That paper has not been issued yet, but when it is, it'll be on our PPR Division's web page with lottery scholarship resources. That was not a required report, it's just one that we find it's necessary to do every year or two to keep the legislature informed of what's going on in other states. Secondly, Indrani Ojha presented a dynamic mapping tool based upon a GIS application that plots high school to college participation rates by county, by individual high school, and by certain demographic characteristics of students. The level of drill down that we can achieve is actually going farther than that. We'll actually add a feature where it looks at participation rates from high school X to college Y. And so it's just a matter of taking the granularity of the data and attaching the GIS application to that. We heard some good suggestions on other future applications of this mapping tool. There are still a couple of small bugs in the program that need to be worked out. And I think Monday after next is when we committed to sending an email out to you all to let you know where that's been placed on our website. But I think it'd be a great thing to go out and play around with the data, give us some more feedback so we can improve it even more. And then lastly, we did cover our statutorily and other annual data reports, beginning with Matt Freeman back there, who did a good job of talking about our profiles and trends report, biennial report on regional and national context of Tennessee higher education. And then Penny Shelton talked about our fact book, which we've developed several new measures this year to put in there, and we sort of focused on the new things that are in there, things like having to do with populations of specific interest to Tennessee now, the adult, the low income, and student loan default, things that new data are becoming available on every year. Just as a heads up, over the next couple of weeks, we will be also developing reports. One is called the off-campus report, and that is something we have to do every year for the legislature to show the enrollment activity at off-campus sites and centers. This year we're going to try to add a feature of looking at students who graduate from off-campus centers, as those centers are supposed to have programs that can be obtained fully on I shouldn't say on site, at the center. And then lastly, something we've been doing for about 5 years now is called the Legislative County Higher Education Profiles, and this allows a legislator or anyone who's interested in an analysis of a particular county to go in and get an array of data on economic conditions in the county, college participation in the county, lottery scholarship receipt, and then one that I don't think we publish anywhere else is in that report, and that is there are over 100,000 students in the state who are eligible for and apply for the Tennessee Student Assistance Award, the state's need-based grant, but they don't get it because the money just runs out, and it's a first-come, first-served grant. And we break those numbers down by county and monetize the amount of money that is essentially being left on the table in each county. So it's kind of our sneaky way of trying to keep the message about TSAA out there for the legislature's awareness. So again, there were a lot of graphs and charts, and we talked about them this morning, had a good discussion. I would direct you to the front page of the THEC website. Down in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a button that says 2012 Legislative Reports. That's where you can find much of the information that I just spoke about. And we have those reports going back 4 or 5 years, so it's a great resource for anybody who's interested in the work of THEC and our PPR staff. That's my report.
All right. Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I guess Dr. Rhoda.
Right, Will Burns is over in the legislative closet right now, so I won't do as well as thorough as job, but I will give a legislative update. In preface to that, though, I want to thank David for giving an overview and summarizing it very well. Again, one thing we've tried to do over the years is really develop our staff capacity to do policy analysis. And thanks to David and the current staff, thanks to Brian, Nolan, when he was here, I think that's something that the Commission ought to be very, very proud of. And we'll continue to try to do better, get meaningful information in an understandable way, which, you know, we're always trying to do. On the legislative front, just a couple of things. These may be the closing days of the General Assembly for this session. There's still talk, as far as I know, trying to wrap up either tomorrow or Saturday. So, just some of the highlights. There was proposed legislation that would have revised the lottery scholarship that it appears will not be going through this session. This was the notion of, I'm going to say this in a very clumsy way, basically scaling down the scope of the program to get the operating costs, the annual operating costs, within the amount of money that the lottery was generating on a year-to-year basis. We talked about it this morning when Thomas Sanford gave his review of other states as well as Tennessee and their programs. But the proposed legislation did pass through on the Senate side. It did not on the House. It did not come through the House Finance Committee. So just for the sake of argument, I think it will not be revived. It will not be passed this year. So the notion is that, and we talked this morning, the lottery itself has been an uptick. And so it may well be able to sustain the program the way it's designed now. So we will see. I have not heard any discussion about reconstituting the lottery stabilization task force, but that may come as well. The budget, of course, is of interest to all of us. And I'm not sure it's out of the finance committees on both sides, but it's close apparently. But it's not been on. I don't believe it's been on the floor of either house. But that's that would be the next step, and that's of course the action, final action would occur. I suspect this is the obvious that once the budget has cleared and once it is approved, the General Assembly will be wrapping up for the year. A more particular, specific interest to the Commission, there's legislation that we encouraged, I would characterize it as housekeeping, that would deal with some of the reporting that we do to consolidate some of the reports that's identified in various pieces of legislation to make it more cohesive. In talking with Will this morning, and these are my words, apparently that piece of legislation has become a real gathering point for amendments that may have nothing to do with the reporting of the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. And so far those amendments have been successfully tabled. At such time as it weighs down the bill, I suspect it will be withdrawn. But the intent was pure. It was to simplify just some of the reporting requirements which have accrued over the years. The bill that the administration proposed that affected a number of boards and commissions, that more specifically as it relates to the commission, would change the appointing authority for the executive director of THEC, changing from that of the commission's responsibility in making the position of gubernatorial appointment, has passed and is part of a bigger bill with affecting a lot of other agencies. It has had passed the House earlier, full House floor, and just within the past day, yesterday, was approved by the full Senate. So that will be now on the governor's desk for signing within the next day or so. The one that's a sticking point now and is of concern, the commission was scheduled for sunset review this year, and it was our time to come through the cycle. And we participated in a hearing over the summer. We went before House and Senate Government Operations Committees earlier in the session. It was approved at both House and Senate committee levels. It was approved on the House side where the life of the commission will be extended for 2 years, and that was timed. That's a rather short time period, but so it would coincide with UT sunset and Regents sunset. There's some logic to that. The sticking point is that it has cleared the House completely. It is yet to be placed on the calendar for the full Senate. A reminder, the way that works is that unless there is a positive action or affirmative action by either house, it's a dead issue, and the agency involved would go into wind down. That's the position in which we find ourselves now. The chair of the Senate Government Operations Committee is the individual who can place it on the calendar for the vote by the full Senate. That Senator Chairman has indicated he has no intention of doing that. So the commission would go and wind down. What that will cause, we've never been there before, but we've been assured that there will be hearings shortly to resolve the issues that the chair has expressed, and then the following session, this time next year, the bill could be reintroduced extension. It's unclear, to be frank, what the real issue is that's causing the sticking point. What Will and I were told by the chair involves issues raised by at least one of the proprietary schools that we regulate, question about how we operate, and actually some of the issues that you just addressed in the revised rules. So we will keep you posted on that. Those that have been involved in the conversation, we very much, on behalf of the commission, we appreciate that. I am not recommending that the commission take any action as a body, because I think we just, at this time, really don't know what, how to best address it. I would characterize this as something that happens at the end of a session. And so there's, I think we just take it as we see it. From a staff perspective, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, please know that we will proceed, go along with our work. There are many important things on the agenda, the complete college agenda. We are about midstream in that. We talked earlier about the good news about the Gear Up grant. We will have plenty to do getting that up and running, and we will keep you posted on that.
Are there any questions about the updates?
Good, because I've told you everything I know.
Thank you. You want to cover the conflict of interest?
Yes, and in preface that, something else I forgot. I should have mentioned this in my remarks. We were the host state, Tennessee, for a conference that I guess may be wrapping up now, but started yesterday, and it was on the main campus of TSU, but it dealt with Park, and I think we've talked to you about this. It really fit into Katrina's remark. The Park is an entity that, or an effort that was associated with the Chief. I don't know whether they started or they combined it, but national not-for-profit educational advocacy group. PARC is an acronym for Partnership for Assessment of Readiness of College and Careers. And this, Mike Krause has been the commission's point person on this, and actually the state's point person, working with Dr. Short and the Board of Regents and Dr. Hyde's office at UT. But basically the meeting that was held, or is being held, was teams from, gosh, I want to say 10 to 15 states that are coming together. This is all about the Common Core standards coming through the K-12 pipeline. This is where the higher education and K-12 come together, make sure we're talking about what that means to be college and career ready. Now that there's going to be a core standards, how do you assess that? And Mike has done yeoman's work in pulling all that together, getting faculty from both systems, from a number of campuses at the table, so that we, higher education, can have a meaningful role in that. So it was quite a meeting yesterday. I spoke briefly to the group, and it was, Tennessee was well represented. You would have been proud of us. Okay, conflict of interest. It's that time of year. By law, members of various state boards and commissions need to complete a conflict of interest report where you disclose any conflicts that you may have involving the work of the commission. If you would, please complete them. They're in the notebooks. Sign them and leave them, or give them to Lavella. For those who left, we'll make sure to get them. It's one of those things that's important that we have one for everyone. For no other reason, the state auditor likes to take an issue out of that. Not that there's any conflict, but just so we don't have a complete set. But I would ask them to do that. Gary, I know you just went through that with your board. UT has to do it with the Board of Regents, so it's a very routine form.
Great. All right. Thank you so much. The last item, I just wanted to thank Mr. Zach Wallman. I think this is your last meeting with us as a commissioner. It's been a pleasure to serve with you, and I'll give you a moment if you want to make any comments.
Sure. It's been an exciting time the past 2 years getting to be part of this board, and I really appreciate the opportunity. I really appreciate getting to know many of you, and I really appreciate the people that I will probably ask for letters of recommendation for law school. Get that application process this fall. I'm just a junior, so I do have another year left in school here. But it's been a great 2 years, and I appreciate the opportunity.
It's been a pleasure having you on the organization. Thank you so much for serving. Just want to mention, for those commission members who do have the opportunity, you can stay. We want to have a community service award reception at 3 o'clock. Hang out with us. I think this is the 20th year
It is.
of this occasion. It's really a special time. If you can stay, if you can't, we appreciate you being here today. Our next meeting will be July 26th. So be safe, and until then, if there's nothing left, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah.
Bone.
Nice to meet you.